All Jews are Israelis, even if you haven't filled out your paperwork just yet.
Well, that low-cut top was certainly a choice, a very intentional one, because Israeli-paid honeypot propagandists, as I like to think of them, are flooding social media. There's no level of propaganda that's going to erase the images that are literally the images that at this point for me are seared in my mind. It looks like there was more to that gross joke that Van Jones told about dead Gazan babies during his recent appearance on Real Time with Bill Maher. Because Dropsite News has uncovered his ties to a new pro-Israel organization, which he should be upfront and disclose, but he didn't. So let's learn more about this organization. So it's called the Jackie and Jeff Karsh Journalism Fellowship. And it describes itself as solely dedicated to Jewish topics. So Jackie Karsh, I had never heard of her in my life, but it turns out she's one of the fellowship's co-founders and states that she is fighting on the front of journalism for Israel. So she's out front with her bias in favor of Israel, which is kind of the antithesis of pursuing journalism, but okay, fair enough. She's apparently, or at least she likes to fashion herself as a journalist based here in Los Angeles. In December of last year, here's what she stated. October 7th happened and everything changed for me because I knew this was going to be a war of information the second it happened. You know, Jackie, I knew that too. You wanna know why I knew that? Because I live here in the United States where the atrocities and war crimes that are carried out by the Israeli government tend to get glossed over or not covered at all. Our media seems to be pretty friendly to the pro-Israel narrative. But here's what happened over the last 2 years. We saw endless videos of innocent people getting bombed, okay, just absolutely destroyed, children with limbs missing, parents weeping over the corpses of their toddlers. We saw images like that. The entirety of the Gaza Strip leveled by the Israeli government and the Israeli Defense Forces. That's what we saw. And it turns out that all the disinformation that Israeli supporters or Israel supporters might want to put out there really pales in comparison to the imagery that we've been consuming over the last 2 years. But anyway, she then cited a post from Aviva Klopas, who's the former head of, I'm sorry about that. She's the, former head of speechwriting at the Israeli mission to the UN. Now, what did Aviva write and what was cited? She wrote that the IDF is going to attack our enemies by land, sea, and air. And the rest of us are going to fight on the battlegrounds of academia, law, business, media, and every other damn front we can think of. And in reference to that, Karsh says, so this is my front. Journalism is my front, and I'm doing what I can. Look, I actually really value the fact that she's being open and honest with what her agenda is. I respect that. Even though I disagree with her clearly, I disagree with her point of view. Putting your cards on the table is admirable because at least you're not trying to pretend like you're being a fair and honest journalist like Bari Weiss does. Bari Weiss, just like Karsh, has an overwhelming bias, but unlike Weiss, Karsh is willing to be upfront about her bias. Okay, fair enough, great. So in March of this year, Karsh stated that the Israel story is on the facts side. So you're already starting from a good place because the truth is at the end of the day, the IDF is the most moral army in the world. You know, Jackie, I wouldn't think that, just judging based on how people behave when I engage in debate with them on Israel and its atrocities. Some of them even quit live on air and run off the set. But anyway, let me give you more. The Israeli population is made up of Christians, Druze, and Arabs and Israelis, Jews. It runs the gamut. And so there's no apartheid there. And I think if you just go through each of those things systematically, the facts are on Israel's side. Oh, is that true? Is that why Palestinians were shot and killed as they merely approached the border wall that separates Gaza from Green Line Israel? Is that why that happened? If there's no apartheid? Interesting. Additionally, Karsh has cast doubt on the casualty numbers provided by the Gaza Ministry of Health. I actually cast doubt on those numbers as well. I actually think it's severely underestimated how many Palestinians have perished in Gaza as a result of this ongoing genocide. I suspect, though, she's going in the opposite direction. She also criticized the media's coverage of the Al-Ahli hospital bombing in 2023, which the IDF claimed was caused by a Palestinian rocket. Since then, Israel has proceeded to bomb literally every single hospital in the Gaza Strip. And she served as the board member of a pro-Israel group called Jewish Federation for several years. Now, Dropsite News also notes that as far as they could tell, Karsh has never publicly expressed any concern, not even no modicum of concern for the Palestinian civilians in Gaza who have been starved, forcibly displaced, or slaughtered by the Israeli government. She seems to think that their lives aren't as important. I'll be generous and just frame it that way. Now, let's talk a little bit more about this fellowship that she's a co-founder of. So the Jackie and Jeff Karsh Journalism Fellowship maintains that it is resolutely nonpartisan. They didn't say that they're unbiased, but they're nonpartisan. So left, right, Democrat, Republican, as long as you support Israel, you're welcome. They began taking applications from those interested in joining back in July, and their whole game plan is to have up to 10 fellows who will then meet with journalists, scholars, policymakers, and innovators over the course of 3 retreats. You know, the pro-Israel cohort in this country really loves their retreats, don't they? So they plan on discussing topics that include Middle East misinformation and how to stop anti-Semitism. In other words, they're gonna get together to discuss how they can spread and propagate their own version of Middle East misinformation. And they are going to embolden the current government of Israel to continue engaging in the type of atrocities that has fueled the uprise in anti-Semitism globally. I don't think these people realize how counterproductive they really are with what they're doing. Again, we have seen the images and the videos for 2 years straight. There's no level of propaganda that's going to erase the images that are literally, the images that at this point for me are seared in my mind. 16 scholars and journalists have already been chosen as mentors for the fellows, and Van Jones, as we previously mentioned, happens to be one of them. He used to be a radical. This is the guy who got fired from the Obama administration because he questioned the 9/11 narrative. Man, this is embarrassing. And also a little depressing, to be honest. So other mentors from the publications, other mentors are from publications that include The Atlantic, not surprised, Spectrum News, The Spectator, Ynet, which I think is an Israeli publication if I'm not mistaken, The Times of Israel, and The New York Times. And that last bullet point is especially interesting when you consider the following. The New York Times Handbook of Values and Practices for its journalists states they should take care to ensure any public engagements, including giving speeches, participating on panels, teaching classes, and presenting at conferences, do not create an actual or apparent conflict of interest or undermine public trust in the Times' independence. When it comes to Israel, though, it's not rare for values to kind of fall by the wayside. I mean, think about the standards we have for literally every other country on the global stage when it comes to engaging in war. Now, if Russia carried out the same atrocities that the Israeli government is currently carrying out, we might have nuked them by now. But since it's Israel, it's okay. Fair enough. So Dropsite News asked the Times whether having their journalists participate in this fellowship would, essentially serve as a conflict of interest, especially considering the standards that the New York Times has. In response, a spokesperson called it ridiculous to claim that their mentorship is about anything other than supporting up and coming journalists. So apparently the New York Times didn't get the memo, even though Karsh was abundantly clear about what the agenda for this fellowship really is. I guess that's why they pay them the big bucks to do journalism.
All Jews are Israelis, even if you haven't filled out your paperwork just yet. Because remember, we were a people first, far before we were ever a religion. Judaism was just a way of life, a set of beliefs and traditions that our nation followed. So that's why we speak a Semitic language. That's why when we pray, we face Jerusalem, and our synagogues are built to face Jerusalem.
Well, that low-cut top was certainly a choice, a very intentional one. Because Israeli paid honeypot propagandists, as I like to think of them, are flooding social media as Israel attempts to essentially launder its current image and reputation as a belligerent and genocidal regime. Now, let's back up a little bit, because Netanyahu had met with American influencers after his UN General Assembly speech. You know, that speech where literally dozens of international diplomats walked out because he is a war criminal. Yeah, that one. And after meeting with them, there were some posts from the Prime Minister of Israel X page saying that the Prime Minister met after his UN General Assembly speech with pro-Israel influencers and spoke with them about the challenges in the new era and the public diplomacy efforts and the influence of the social networks on the discourse for and against Israel. And during that meeting, he was on camera and he just openly said, you know, we got to take over TikTok and we got to have a conversation with Elon Musk to do something about X to ensure that pro-Israel propaganda is being dispersed. And those pictures that he shared actually ended up coming in very handy, because soon after that meeting, Responsible Statecraft had reported that a cohort of American influencers were getting paid $7,000 per pro-Israel post on social media. Now, here's one of the influencers who was in fact present during that meeting with Bibi. She goes by Shay. She writes, this is hilarious. I'm all about America first, but that doesn't mean America alone.
Yeah.
Are you? I mean, just note that her handle is Judean CEO. Really? You're all about America first? Okay. Now she says that America first doesn't mean America alone. But but many feel America would actually do better without its ties to a genocidal welfare state like Israel that relies on US taxpayer money in order to do pretty much everything. Plus, Israel needed our bombs in order to carry out strikes in Iran. And in her post, she makes it seem as though Israel is protecting the United States by fighting off Iran. Just not true. And some are smart enough to see what's going on here. I want to give you some of the responses to her post. By the way, very pretty girl. I'm not going to deny that. However, there she is with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. There she is with evidence that she was in that meeting with Bibi. One of my favorite things that's now pretty common on social media in response to posts like this is that people are making reference to the amount of money these influencers are getting paid per pro-Israel post on social media. I'll give you a taste of just two of them. Here's one showing Netanyahu as a game show host giving $7,000. Another person posted plus $7,000. $7,000 has been deposited into your account. And there are more examples, which I'll give you in just a minute. But Cenk, what do you think about this, honeypot propaganda scheme? Do you think it's gonna win over the hearts and minds of Americans who have soured on the Israeli government?
All right, there's three things here. Two of them are, one is serious, one is hopeful, one is light. So let's get started. First of all, this could be basically characterized as tatas for Israel. Okay, and I guess Netanyahu wants Israel and America to be bosom buddies. Okay.
Don't be a boob, Cenk. Don't be a boob.
Oh, we should get Colonel Tata back on here to discuss it. Anyways, I mean, that's, guys, you gotta realize how funny that is. Again, this is not a left or right one at all, right? Israel's basically going like this to you, thinking, oh, dumb American men, here, look at Israeli boobs. Okay, so now give us, okay, Like, here, I gave that chick $7,000. Now you give me $13 billion. Don't let them rob you, okay? And so it's, but Anna, that leads to the hopeful part, which is in the old days, nobody would have caught this. I've seen them run things like this, not exactly this at all, but different propaganda campaigns like hundreds of times. And no one ever, of course, mainstream media works for them, so that they're useless. We'll come back to them in a second. But in the old days, there was nobody to catch them. Now, I don't even know if it's right wingers or left wingers who are doing these videos, right? But they're getting caught all over the place. They're like, oh yeah, that's another 7,000, the 7,000 club. I made that up. Okay, anyway, so, and they're all getting called out, and I love it. I love it when the internet catches people. Everybody's getting caught. That's a huge phenomenon, which leads us to the last point, which is a serious one. So Bibi in that gathering with the influencers, we've shown it to you a couple times, says, okay, we're gonna buy TikTok, we're gonna get allies, and we're gonna influence Elon Musk to be pro-Israel on X, and we're gonna control the media, and you're all getting paid. I mean, it's kind of like literally like a stripper, right? Because he's like, all right, here's the money. They're like, oh, right? And so I don't know if they threw in a lap dance while they were at it. And so, and then you go, oh, it looks like Israel is obviously influencing American media. And mainstream media goes, anti-Semite. Oh, come on, guys. Come on. You can't complain about a trope if you're doing the trope. And you're announcing 100%. It to the world publicly, right? We are trying to control American media. You said it, I didn't say it. So
true, so true. But look, that was just a little taste, okay? We've got some more honeypot action going on. I wanna give you another example. This one is just so crazy in how lazy the propaganda is that, again, you just have to laugh. So recently, one of these propagandists tried to lie about the 44 boats that made up the Samud flotilla that tried to get humanitarian aid to the Palestinian civilians in Gaza. And luckily, in her attempt to lie about the humanitarians and what they were really up to, she was just so bad at it that it was easy to debunk her. And I want you to get a sense of just how lazy she was. Take a look.
So this Zionist lady recently tried to expose the Gaza Freedom Flotilla by claiming that the boats didn't actually have any aid on them.
Hi everyone, it is Lizzie Savetsky. I'm reporting to you live from Greta's flotilla where 44 boats were intercepted yesterday, allegedly bringing aid to Gaza. Let's go inside, I'll give you a tour. Margarita machine and some empty bottles.
Yeah, hold on, lady. Let's take a closer look at those empty bottles. The labels on these products are written in Hebrew, which means they come from Israel. So you're telling me that Greta Thunberg brought Israeli products from Sweden? Or did you just plant them here so you could push your dumbass narrative? $7,000 has been deposited in your account. She also claims that there was paraphernalia and needles on the boat, but I guess they were too lazy to actually plant any because she never shows it.
Like, okay, so are the humanitarians doing heroin on the boat? Like, it's just so ridiculous. It really is. And of course, she was also pictured with Netanyahu after his UN General Assembly speech. Let's take a look. There she is right there in the middle. You'll also notice that Emily Austin is in the picture. She's another one of these Israeli propagandists. She's usually on Piers Morgan's show getting her ass handed to her. And on October 17th, she'll be on Her Take. Really looking forward to having her on the show. And so, by the way, she's also the one who put out this banger. Again, this is Emily Austin. Take a look.
Imagine supporting people who start wars just to lose the wars so they can cry about it and then try it all again.
You must see anti-Semites are literally obsessed with Jews. Now walk with me. While you must see anti-Semites are stacking eviction notices, Jews are out here stacking up businesses.
Jews control all the industries. Maybe if you spent more time taking notes from successful people, you wouldn't have to spend your nights and weekends spreading hate from your anonymous account with an anime profile picture.
Do you work as hard as Jews? Do you network like Jews? No, because you're too busy cheering on a group of musty terrorists who smell like dirty earring backs. And if we're gonna keep it real, you're really mad because your income is giving side hustle.
Period.
How you gonna hate from outside, Shabbat? You can't even get in.
That video is supposed to make people like Israel? Like, who was that for? That was so bad. And Cenk, there's at least one person, one influencer who at least had a little bit of self-awareness to understand, I probably am not gonna look good if I'm in this photo of other US influencers who are getting bought off by the nation state of Israel. Let's take a quick look at that gentleman. Here he is trying to hide behind someone. It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah. But don't worry, he's gonna be wearing short shorts in his next video. And he's gonna be like, oh, look at this, ladies. Come and get it for Israel. And when Emily Austin's getting her ass handed to her on Piers Morgan, she'll be like, hey, everybody, look at it though, look at it. For Israel, my ass. That video you just showed was so weird. So it does two things.
It was so embarrassing.
Yeah.
It was so cringy. I can't believe they thought that was a good idea. But please, by all means, more, do more of that. I'm sure it'll work out real well for Israel.
No, but there is one huge problem. As always, they're conflating the terrible actions of the current Israeli government with all Jews. Don't do that. That's what drives anti-Semitism, right? So they're almost trying to egg on anti-Semitism so they can complain about it, so that they can keep murdering Palestinians and then go, yeah, anyone who complains is an anti-Semite. I mean, what was that? That whole thing of like, haha, the Jews are the best. We run all the industries. You better get in line for it. What was that? How does that help you? That's like maniacal. If Candace Owens put that out, everybody would be like, oh my God, it's the most anti-Semitic thing we've ever seen. So these guys are nuts, man. And yet, I'll never get over it. As the entire world has woken up, the entire country, left, right, everyone has woken up to what Israel's doing. And it's so obvious because they're literally shoving it in your face, their breast, their ass, everything, right? Their money, all of it, right? The politicians and the media in America, 98% of the powerful people in this country are like, what? I don't see it. Israel, what's that? Oh, you must be an anti-Semite if you say Israel's doing propaganda online or in the media. All right, you guys want to ruin your whole lives, your careers, everything, just so you can kiss the ass that Israel is offering up? That's an embarrassing way to go through life. But hey, you do you, boo.
Bibi's running around, this is a fact, I'm not guessing about this, because I talked to people he said it to, is running around the Middle East, his region, and his own country, and telling people point blank, just stating it, I control the United States, I control Donald Trump. He's saying that, and I dare them to say that's not true. Bibi, not the nation of Israel, not Israelis, and certainly not Jews, whatever that means. The leader, the secular prime minister of a country is doing immense harm to Donald Trump's presidency, to the United States, and to the world. This is an unbalanced person whose only real concern is for himself. He's meddling in an extensive way in American politics. He's loathed by the entire world.
Dinesh D'Souza, a convicted felon, is accusing Tucker Carlson of ripping the MAGA movement apart for having the audacity to criticize a foreign leader, Benjamin Netanyahu. D'Souza aired his grievances on X, writing, the problem with Tucker is not that he's bad for Israel. He's bad for Trump and MAGA. He's trying to rip MAGA apart ideologically and generationally. I don't know his motives, but who can be blind to the effects of his actions? And who benefits? The left, the Islamic jihadis.
So this guy's a crack up. By the way, this is now all over the place. And we'll show you Eric Erickson and so many others. So Mediaite has like 2 articles a day. Oh, the real right wingers hate Tucker Carlson and love Israel. Do they? And every accusation is a confession. Dinesh D'Souza and so many of these other guys, I don't know particulars on Dinesh, okay? But I do know overall, and we see it with now the revealed text from Charlie Kirk, that there are tons of donors who are pro-Israel. They donate to right-wing hosts to make sure they are pro-Israel. So all of those guys all of a sudden coming out and going, oh, if you want to be MAGA, you have to kiss Netanyahu's ass. And if you don't like Tucker Carlson, you're ripping us apart and you're not real MAGA. Yeah, good luck with that.
Netanyahu is a notorious war criminal who is currently wanted by the International Criminal Court. The idea that the American conservative movement needs to be loyal to a disgusting man who has carried out unspeakable atrocities is laughable to me and is not a good look for American conservatives. But at the end of the day, we're talking about Dinesh D'Souza, again, a convicted felon. Let me give you more of what he had to say, including his attempt to essentially redefine what America first means. America first, he writes. My point is not that Tucker is a paid shill.
It kind of sounded like that though.
I have never said it because I have no idea if it's true.
He just assumes it because he's a paid shill. My guess.
My point is that when you routinely bash our ally Israel, you help the double-dealing Qataris and the Iranian mullahs and radical jihadis everywhere. Let me just be clear about something. I'm seeing more and more idiotic Americans essentially regurgitate propaganda from the Israeli government in regard to Qatar. Qatar happens to be our ally. We have a military base in their country, okay? These morons beating the war drums against an actual ally of ours is laughable. Well, by the way, they sing the praises of Israel as being our special ally when Israel has done nothing but get the United States into all sorts of trouble. Israel is a welfare state funded by the American taxpayer.
Yeah, so Anna, I actually don't think there's this, like, I'm not sure there's a single actual human being who says those things. I think almost everyone who says those things are paid shills. Like, I've never seen anyone say Qatari Carlson, who, if you look at their timeline, isn't massively pro-Israel.
Qatarlson, get it right.
Yeah, whatever they're calling him, right? So that's why this whole thing's comical. It's a bunch of people up top trying to browbeat actual MAGA voters who totally agree with Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
Right? And so, I mean, look at that tweet.
How about this, Dinesh D'Souza? How about this, for once? And it doesn't have to be Dinesh D'Souza, just any conservative who's like trying to rain hell on Tucker Carlson for actually making substantive points that are accurate and based in reality. How about you actually, instead of attacking him as a person, how about you actually attack his arguments with substance? Do you have a substantive argument? Oh, you don't. You don't have a substantive argument. So how about you shut the F up? Okay, because I'm not interested in hearing about your smears. I'm interested to see if there's an actual debate here. And if there isn't an actual substantive debate, if you're unable to push back against Tucker Carlson with a sound, cogent argument, well then you're the shill. And what's so disgusting about it is you're a shill for a foreign country.
Yeah, I mean, there's such great ironies there because that tweet was talking about America first, and he basically concludes America first is Israel first. No, by definition it isn't. Yeah. So when you start to say that, you sound like an ass. And then he says, now it is very bigoted to criticize Israel. Instead, you have to criticize Qatar and Iran. Wait, why is that not bigoted? Okay, put Iran aside. Qatar is a top ally with a giant military base of ours there. So why is that not bigoted? No, shut up. You're all anti-Semites, okay? Okay, then if you criticize Qatar, are you anti-Muslim? Of course not, don't be ridiculous. Why?
What the hell did Qatar do? Like, why are we suddenly demonizing Qatar?
Oh, of course, everybody knows. Nowadays, now everybody knows. It's because if you're an enemy of Israel for any reason, that's it. There's gonna be dozens of pundits and politicians in America who will come out hundreds if you put them all together and tell you, oh, you have to hate Qatar, you have to hate them, you have to hate them. But they're our biggest base. Why do I have to hate them? Okay, guys, the other day, Turkey closed off the airspace to Israel and said we're not dealing with them economically anymore.
Good.
Immediately in mainstream media, there was like 3-4 articles about Turkey actually Muslim Brotherhood, terrorists. There's a Republican we covered on the show, I think he was in South Dakota or somewhere, in a town hall. They're reconstituting the Ottoman Empire. Erdogan's Muslim. I mean, that propaganda is so quick, so thorough. It's all over the country. So before, by the way, Turkey not an enemy of Israel. Turkey's fine, Turkey's great, Turkey's an ally, Turkey's in NATO. The minute they defy Israel, Turkey's terrible, terrorist, etc. Come on.
If you don't have a substantive rebuttal against what Tucker Carlson is saying in regard to the nation state of Israel, I'm not interested in hearing anything you have to say. The idea that Tucker Carlson is ripping the conservative movement apart is laughable to me. Like, by the way, Dinesh D'Souza, how important do you think you are to the conservative movement? How many young conservatives are like at the edge of their seats waiting for your next tweet where you're literally like, anyway.
No one.
It's ridiculous. The whole thing is ridiculous. Okay, so look, I don't know if I really want to get into this, but recently Benjamin Netanyahu went on Dinesh D'Souza's show. I guess Dinesh D'Souza has a show of some sort. And the topic of Netanyahu's bloodline came up. Now, let me just set up the context before we go to this clip. An argument that Tucker Carlson accurately makes is that the Israelites referenced in the Bible are not the same as modern day Israel, right? Or the government of Israel. That's the argument that he makes. And so that topic came up as Dinesh D'Souza was speaking to Benjamin Netanyahu, and Netanyahu wanted to make the case that like, oh no, I come from, that's my heritage, Israelites. Okay, let's take a look.
In a recent exchange between Tucker Carlson and Senator Ted Cruz, Tucker Carlson said, "Are you saying that the Jews in Israel under Netanyahu are the descendants of the ancient Israelites who are described in the Bible?"
Of course, there's no question about it. The Jews spread from this land to various parts of Europe, to the Middle East and elsewhere. But we never forgot this land. We said next year in Jerusalem, next year in Jerusalem. My great-grandfather came here in the 19th century. Most of the Palestinians who are alive today came after him. So that's what our history has been.
Oh, okay, then I guess you can engage in genocide and kill, hundreds of thousands of innocent people in order to claim that you like own that land. I don't believe him, but aside from that, I don't care.
Yeah, so I don't care where anybody's from. I find that, since I'm not a religious person, I find this idea that that God promised it to you 3,000 years ago. Okay, he promised it to me. How are we going to debate it, right? I just find the whole thing insane and absurd. But to give you a sense of where Netanyahu is actually from, his real name is Benjamin Milikowski. He's Polish.
Why did he change it? That's weird.
It is weird, isn't it, right? So they're like, no. And tons of Israelis have changed their name to, and they could say ethnic pride, right? And maybe that's a fair thing. But the other possibility is that they're like, well, we don't want to seem like European colonizers. So instead we'll pretend that we've been here the whole time. But brother, have you been there the whole time? No. When Israel was created, only 6% of that land was Jewish. The citizens, right? The people that live there, 6%. The rest immigrated largely from Europe and all parts of the different world, and it's okay. I mean, I don't want to go back to debating the creation of Israel, but don't tell me that your family's been there all this time, because they haven't. They've been in Poland. So, okay, I want to go to Eric Erickson, okay? So he's part of this now, and everybody's got to pile on Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and pretend they're not real right-wingers and all that stuff. So he writes, I forget who first pointed this out, but it is important. As Candace Owens, Tucker, et cetera, spread their Jews control everything propaganda on the right, it isn't really Qatar that benefits, but China.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
The Chinese have stirred the anti-Semitic pot.
We should go to war with them.
Adjusted the TikTok algorithm to amplify anti-Semitism, et cetera. All the people on the right suddenly blaming the Jews are not looking at China, and the voices spreading the propaganda are silent on China and its influence operations. So let me get this right, Eric. Don't hate the Jews, hate the Chinese. And you don't notice that?
Eric, look, I know Eric isn't stupid because he's been one of the people on the right who has pushed back on members of his own, political group when they're being unhinged, quite frankly. So I want to be polite in saying that was stupid, Eric. That was really stupid. Our obsession with carrying out anything and everything Israel, not the Jews, Israel wants, has made us less competitive in this, ongoing tiff with China.
Mitt Romney said
Like,
on
what are we
tape.
doing?
Yeah, he said on tape, it's not about China, it's about Israel. That's why they're trying to stop TikTok. And then Larry Ellison, the biggest donor to IDF, is buying TikTok. And then Netanyahu said, we're buying TikTok on behalf of Israel. So this is all on tape. That's a paraphrase of Netanyahu's, but we showed you the tape multiple times. There's no question that he's like, now we have the influence on TikTok. So the idea that like this is some sort of conspiracy theory, well, then you should tell Netanyahu and Ellison and all the other guys who are admitting it, and Mitt Romney admitting it all over the place. And guys, this whole idea that the Chinese are anti-Semitic, and that's why they're trying to get us to hate Israel, it's so preposterous. Of course, that accusation is a confession. The Israelis are trying to get us to hate the Chinese so that it diverts our attention. Stop looking at Israel. Did we give $310 billion to China or Israel? Did we start the Iraq war because Iraq was the #1 enemy of China or Israel? Did we fund a genocide for China or Israel? Oh, right, every time it's Israel, right? But they're like, don't look, China, Qatar, you blame someone else. Oh, you guys are bigots against Israel. Oh, you should be bigots against China. You should be bigots against Qatar. And that was deeply, deeply ironic. No, we see you guys now. Sad day for you, the internet exists. So you keep talking your nonsense, but everyone who's out there going rah, Israel, you're all anti-Semites. Right winger, anti-Semite, racist, bigot. Keep accusing your own voters of being bigots and see how it turns out for you. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.